Welcome to Pep Talk and Pickleball, the podcast where we explore empty nest life, health, fitness, and nutrition, all with a side of pickleball fun. I'm your host, Jill Lewis, your guide through this exciting phase of life. As a certified faster way to fat loss coach and fellow empty nester, I'm here to share insights, interview experts, and yes, sprinkle in some pickleball talk. Join me for weekly doses of motivation and laughter as we navigate health, happiness, and pickleball passion. Grab your paddle, join the conversation, and let's dive into Pep Talk and Pickleball. Welcome back to Pep Talk and Pickleball. This is your host, Jill Lewis. I'm so thrilled that you're here to join me today because I have a very special guest. This is Margaret Zielinski, and she is a professional organizer. Now, I don't know about you, but I feel like I need one of these people in my life. I have issues with, it's just my husband and I know, but we have like a whole barn, we have a lot of closets, and that we just keep accumulating things. And I like to get rid of stuff. I feel like I get rid of stuff every year, but I guess I'm a consumer, Margaret.
We have a lot of friends.
That's right. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Jill. Good to be here.
Thank you so much. Well, tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you become a professional organizer? I'm fascinated.
Sure. And it's interesting you'd ask because I just had a social media viewer ask a day or two ago, how do I become a professional organizer? I really love to organize and I'm good at it. And my advice to her was similar to my background. You start doing it for free for a lot of people. And that's what I did. Back in my 30s and my 40s, I was doing it for friends and family. No thought of making it a business or anything, just something I like to do. And what I found out is I was good at it. I learned a lot about how to do it. But the reason I say that you need to help people before you start it as a business is because it's not just about the stuff. It's about the people, reading people, seeing the differences, because we don't all think alike. We don't work alike. That's okay. Nobody's broken. But part of my job is figuring out how to help people bring out the best in themselves, not be like me.
That's interesting. So it was just something that you were naturally good at and could help other people with.
Yeah, just an organized person, and that kind of goes out to my environment too. So yeah, organized in how I think about things and what I want around me.
Wow. So why do you think organization is so important?
Oh, I think it's like having a nice clean canvas to work on. Thinking about, I'm not an artist at all, but thinking about an artist, they wouldn't want to sit down and have a smudgy, yucky canvas. It's just a lot more fun. It's a lot easier to do what you set out to do when the canvas is clear. And I think that's the environment. When we have noise, visual noise going on all the time, it gets in our heads. We're thinking about all the to-dos. It's distracting from life and the fun things.
That is so true. I work from home, but I moved my office from my house this is like a room in our barn that I work out in, but I moved my desk and everything over here because I was so distracted by all of the things I needed to do in my house.
Yes.
If there was laundry piling up and there are dishes in the sink and all of those things, I kept finding myself feeling so distracted, and it was driving me nuts. So I actually moved over here where it's just my desk and work stuff and my workout equipment, and that's it.
I had a gal once that I was talking to that would, I think it was like every few months, go on a vacation and to a certain spot, and then she couldn't declutter. She couldn't clean because she was away, and that made her feel better. But you can see it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because since she's away, she can't declutter and take care of things. So she was a very unhappy person because she wasn't happy in her home. She wasn't happy away from her home, really.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that if I come into my garage just pulling up, and if my garage isn't clean and organized, it's already setting me in a mood,
Yep. That's actually one of the things that when I'm helping a person figure out where to start declutter, that can be one of the biggest challenges is where do I start? And there are certain key questions I ask, but one of them is that tone, that mood that you're in when you come into the house, because it's a garage, it's an entryway, and sometimes that can be the best place to start. Not always, but sometimes. So
that's interesting. Yeah, that's really smart. Well, tell me, what are the common organizational challenges that your clients are facing that you're working with?
A lot of times there's nothing new under the sun. And so what I see is knowing where to start, as I mentioned before, Staying on track is a big one. Knowing what to do with things. So that can be, where does it belong in my home, or where do I donate it? How do I trash this? And then along those are kind of the practical things that are a challenge to most folks. But the background of shame and guilt, that's a huge hurdle for people, and it's there just as much as the question of where do I start. So that's a big thing that I like to work with people on is, you're not bad. We just need to reframe how we look at things, do things a little differently. We're good. Let's go.
I mean, I'm sure part of your job is a little bit like being a therapist, right?
Oh, yeah, it really is, because you are a relationship counselor in a lot of ways. And I don't have any certification. I'm not making claims in that sense, but there's reading people. I am a huge believer in respecting spouses. We don't lie to spouses. We don't disrespect them and just move their stuff. And a lot of times too, I will find that the people, not everybody, of course, but financial problems can also be part of this, because there's disorganization in all facets of life many times. So yeah, there's a lot of kind of therapy that comes along with it. Therapy.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, for someone that's feeling really overwhelmed by clutter, where do you recommend that they even start?
Well, I'll tell you what I do when I'm working with people. It's a series of questions. What I want to find out is, what is the place that makes you, the way I say it is, what makes you go grr when you think about it? It's just that biggest hurdle. So that could be a good place to start. And a lot of times that is the kitchen or a closet, something that we're in a lot. Sometimes it will be, where are you entering the home and setting that tone? One of the things that takes a few more questions to kind of drill down is, for instance, somebody will say, I never get the laundry put away. I have laundry all over my house. And then I already know in the back of my mind probably what's going on, but I'll kind of work them back. And what we find is that their closet and or dressers are full. And if your closet is full, where are you going to put away the laundry? So that's why it's not getting done. So guess what? A good place to start is probably the bedroom closet. So it's kind of figure out what's really broken, not the first thing that seems broken.
Right. So do you think that most of the people you work with are just pack rats by nature, or is it something, there's something else going on?
I think there's something else going on. A lot of times people will say, I'm such a hoarder, or my husband thinks I'm a hoarder. And I really do caution people with that term. That is a diagnosis. And it doesn't have anything to do with the amount of stuff you have. It has to do with your attachment and need to control that stuff. So just because you have stuff does not make you a hoarder. Pack rats are usually people that's kind of the surface level, but then there's something deeper. And sometimes it's because something was broken in a relationship. I have to keep everything that mom ever touched or owned because we didn't have a good relationship, and this is my way to connect with her. Sometimes it's just as simple as forgetting to look at, I have a decluttering method, the stack decluttering method, and T in stack is today you. We forget to look at who today you is. I don't need suits to go to work anymore. Nobody does that. Maybe some of the folks aren't even going to work anymore. It's not releasing the things that we see it a lot in the kitchen with cookware and all the food and things.
Yes.
Like, for who? 2 people? 1 person? So it's not so much being a pack rat. It's just not stopping and considering who today you is.
I'm going to use that because there's so many things I have. And I think it's the guilt for me of letting go, knowing that I paid money for it. And I feel guilty that I paid money for something that I really, either I used it at one time, but I feel like I should have used it more.
Yeah. You know what, that is, I could have listed that with one of the really common things, and people have different flavors of that, but it's still the same idea. I'll step back. In my previous life before professional organizing, I was in accounting and finance, and there's a thing in accounting called sunk cost. And that's the idea that when you've already spent money, it doesn't need to drive the decisions today. You've already spent that money, let it go. So I would caution a person, like, just because you spent money on it, why does it now own you? You own it. You get to decide. Or it may be something that you've already gotten your use out of, let it go. I also like to get people to think about, it's not what you're giving up, it's what you're gaining. So there's sort of a fallacy that I already own it, I spent money on it, I should keep it. but it's costing you every minute that you keep it. It's costing you in peace and space, in finding and moving easily through your home. So I'm giving you kind of the quick and dirty on these things, but there's a lot of reasons why you gain more by letting it go. And the other thing I have to mention here is I'm a firm believer, if it's not blessing you, it should be blessing somebody else. So something that's costs money, is useful, and it's stuck in a closet, it has no use. It's only useful when somebody's using it. Share it, donate it, let somebody else have that blessing.
Yes. Early in the spring and the fall, my local church has a rummage sale, and it's, all the proceeds go to the church. And so I always take stuff. And this year I took this huge, gorgeous mirror that was in a previous home we used to live in. It does not go with anything where we live in now. And I know it was an expensive mirror, and it was huge, and it was taking up so much space. And I finally donated that. And it was exactly what you were saying. I felt so good knowing that somebody else gets to enjoy that beautiful mirror. And it was like, okay, just let it go. And I feel so much better getting rid of it, because I don't know. And a lot of times too, I'll find myself keeping something for sentimental reasons, thinking that, well, my children one day will want this, and they're not. And I know they're not going to want it.
Yep, exactly. Boy, there's just so many things that we tell ourselves, but the bottom line is, if we're in bondage to stuff, something's messed up. That's not the way it should be. We should be the masters of the things, not they of us. So,
oh my gosh, that is so freeing. I am going to use that, because we literally I have a dining room set that we bought. It was the first expensive, set of furniture that we bought. And I have had it in storage for years, because the guilt that I feel knowing that, and it's sentimental that it was special to me at the time, but I don't want it.
One of the things I like to tell people is there are ways to release things that feel a little bit better. Dining room set would be a great example. And maybe you've heard this, but it's tried and true. Take a picture of it. You don't have to own the thing to have the memory and the feels. And so in this day and age, taking a picture, I challenge people to do maybe one of two things, because who's taking pictures and printing anything out anymore? That doesn't happen. But it can be on your phone. And if you do it on your phone, make an album. And you don't have to get over organized or get crazy, but just call it sentimental things. Because if you're like, you got all these pictures, and who's going to scroll through that? But if you have an album where it's just a hodgepodge of the fun sentimental things, that's fun to go through. And then I
love that.
Well, another thing that's really fun is, especially if things are sort of related or kind of part of a category, is to do a photo book like Shutterfly or something like that. So maybe it's things that mom and dad passed on to me that I can't keep anymore. Well, the whole book, couple dozen pages, is of that one theme. And that can be kind of fun, because you'll actually pull out a little book and look at it, as opposed to go to your storage unit and look at your dining room set.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, that is all so, so helpful. Something else I think that I struggle with, and probably a lot of my listeners do too, is, I can do a purge, and I always call it like a rage purge, where I just feel like the house is closing in on me, and I'll go through our closets and I get rid of so much stuff, because it is nice. I have these rummage sales, and every spring and every fall, I'm finding myself taking stuff there, or I'll just take it to another place that has it every day. You could drop stuff off. But it's like something, I guess I'm just a consumer, where I am really, every year I'm finding myself doing this. And I think, okay, what is wrong with me? I'm still getting rid of so much stuff. So do you find that with your clients, is it just that so much consumerism is just, really is what the issue is?
That definitely is. I think in some ways, one of the best ways to, I don't want to say heal that, it's not that you're broken, but a way to address it is, instead of just doing the purges, kind of the seasonal purges, be a little bit more consistent and follow it through. And the reason I say, and it may not work this way for everybody, but it works this way a lot. When you start really going through that closet and organizing it, decluttering, organizing, you start getting really tired of stuff. And it really is teaching you a lesson, like, I bought this thinking it would do this for me, but it didn't, or it did, and I don't need that anymore. What you're doing is great, but you're just sort of taking the surface level of stuff, and you're never really getting that lesson of, I didn't need to get all this stuff in the first place. So I'd say go deeper. And I think it would kind of help take away some of that consumerism.
That's really a good point. How do you address emotional attachment that people have to their belongings? Especially, you mentioned earlier, like if it was something from your parents or grandparents. But a lot of people, I know my mom included, my mom has an emotional attachment to everything, and she has a lot of things. She's very highly organized, but there's a lot of stuff in that house.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Hear that a lot. Well, the thing is, like, your mom's a good example where she's got a lot of stuff and it's highly organized. But now, if it's flowing to your house, you've got your own stuff, and you might have stuff coming in from your husband's family, and then this, and it's like, also, wait a minute, it's way too much. So once again, I'm giving you quick and dirty stuff here today, but
Yes.
it's thinking through and just helping people reframe that. Let's use a rocking chair. That rocking chair is not your mom. Your mom is in your head, she's in your heart, but she's not a rocking chair. You could get rid of the rocking chair. The memories don't reside with the thing, they reside in your head. So you're free to let it go. Another thing I like to share with people, you know your own family, but sometimes when mom and dad have passed, and I have clients that are very miserable with the amount of stuff, and I'll say, would your mom have wanted you to feel this way? Now, in some cases, mom has been very clear, I want you to keep everything, which is something that might be your situation. But a lot of times people are like, no, I kind of have done this to myself. She wouldn't want me to live like that. And then one of the things that I share, because we get into this family heirloom thing that, it's been in the family for generations. And so I'll share just a little made up story, but imagine your great great grandma, and she's a young woman and she's pregnant, and she decides she wants a rocking chair to rock her little new baby in. And so she goes out wherever they went back in the days to find a rocking chair, and she finds one that is in her budget and fits her and her space. And she buys this rocking chair and raises her child. Well, now fast forward, the rocking chair has been passed down through the family all these years. And I give people the thought exercise. Do you think that your great great grandma sat there for a second and thought, this needs to fit me in my home and my budget, and I want it to be passed down for 5 or 6 or more generations? No, she just bought a chair. That's all it was. Why did we make it so, oh my goodness, like you can have special things. I'm not like get rid of all the heirlooms, but when we make everything special, nothing's special.
So true. Okay, so any practical organizing tips that listeners could like implement today that you have?
Okay, STACK is my decluttering method that I've developed over the years, and it's an acronym. So S is space insight, T is today you, A is align and achieve, kind of putting those two things together. C is clutter cleared. And it's funny because everybody wants to start with clearing the clutter, which is kind of what you were mentioning a little bit ago, but it's these other things that come first. And then K is keeping it great, the maintenance. So I think I will go back to today you. There's a lot of places that plays out, but let's talk about closets. Start thinking about what is the purpose of that closet. And it's a closet. Well, then what's it supposed to do? Well, hold my clothes. Okay. Does it hold your shoes too? Okay, great. Why is your tennis racket in there? Why is your yearbook in there from high school? So when you start thinking, what is the actual defined purpose of this space? Pull that stuff out first. It's the low-hanging fruit, the things that don't even belong there. Next, you want to think about today you. Who am I? Like, do I really, I will be 64 in a couple weeks. Do I really want to wear 4-inch heels anymore? I do not. No. All those heels go. Is something broken or torn? Am I going to mend it? Well, if I was going to, wouldn't I have done it by now? So those kind of things go. You can see you kind of do this layer by layer. It doesn't fit who I am today, but get excited about who you are today, where you're going. And then just one quick kind of, I guess, more on the practical side is, in this scenario, we've defined what the purpose of the closet is. We know who we are and what we're going to keep, but there's still going to be some things like, I don't know, should I keep this or shouldn't I? I love the idea of turning everything in your closet on the hangers backwards. So you're not pulling it off this way. Once you pull something off and wear it, put it back on the right way. And at the end of 3 months, 6 months, whatever time frame you want, whatever's still backwards, you didn't wear it. And that gives you just a very visual clue right away that those are things that you probably could let go. And maybe you go through a whole year, so depending on your seasons, but you get the idea.
That is such a practical tip, but I love that defining the spaces.
Oh.
So tell me again, so stack, what does the S stand for?
Space insight. What is the purpose of that space?
Space insight. Got it. Okay.
And no space really, unless it's a ballroom or something, can have more than 2 or at most 3 purposes. So no cheating.
Yeah, that's great. I love that because I was thinking about, I'm sure as all of the listeners are thinking about their closet and what all is actually in there, and I'm thinking, I do have luggage stored in there that I probably don't really need to have that luggage in there.
No, it's not the purpose of the space. And then, so now you pull out the luggage, you've got more room to maneuver in the closet, keep working there. Well, what happens to the luggage? Well, you might decide, I've got 4 suitcases. When am I ever going to use it? So then you start making proper decisions as opposed to you've stashed them in the closet.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That was so, so helpful. And I'm already picturing this one top that I loved, but I've never mended. It has a little tear in it. And I thought, oh, it's so cute. I'm going to mend it. But that's been 4 or 5 years ago. So I think I can let
that's your indicator. It's not going to happen. and as you feel a little pinch of grief that, you're giving up this favorite thing, but also what you're getting for what you're giving away is that freedom. And freedom is worth a whole lot.
Yeah, because it's like a negative thing every time you look at it. You're thinking, I never got that fixed. Yep. Yeah, totally. Yep. Do you have any, you don't have to give us any names, but just any success stories or examples of how you've worked with clients?
Oh, there's so many because it's such a people business. And so I'm not done until we've succeeded. So there's a lot of success stories, but I'm thinking of one that just occurred recently that actually made me tear up. And so I thought I'd share this, so I'm going to change some names, but Sandy, a wife, was my client, and she was married to Bob, and Bob wasn't complaining about the clutter in their home, but Sandy felt like he didn't like it, that it was impacting their relationship. So there was just sort of this elephant in the room that, I love you, Sandy, I love you, Bob, but everything's not quite right. So she joined my decluttering program, Unjumbled Now. And one of the things I do with folks is, where are we going to have you start? What are your goals? And one of the things she mentioned was that she wasn't going to tell her husband that she had joined Unjumbled Now. And he was going to know by the results. Well, we were about 2 weeks in. It was after the second class. There's 4 classes in each session. After the second class, he came in and said, into the bedroom, and he said, "What's going on?" She's like, "What do you mean?" And so he explained, "I see something's different." So it was after 2 classes that he noticed. And they were able to sit down there in the bedroom and right then have this conversation and expose that elephant in the room. And one of the things she got to say to him, and this is where I started tearing up, is, "I know you didn't think that the clutter was important to me, that I didn't notice, that I didn't care, but I cared, and I cared a lot. I just didn't know what to do about it." And for her to be able to say that to him was so freeing, that she did care. She just was stuck in it. And after the other couple of classes, I guess it was actually one or two more classes, asking, kind of, was the glow still on? And she said, "Yeah, we are talking more about things and getting to the bottom of where this came from and what to do with it." And she said, "It's wonderful." So that's like one of my favorites because it touched a marriage. So,
my gosh, that touched my heart. That made me tear up. That's amazing.
Yeah.
There's just so many things in your home and I feel like as I age, I always thought I wasn't that sentimental of a person, or that I could I can get rid of things. I feel like as I get older, it almost gets worse, that I am becoming that person. For instance, like boxes at Christmas, where after the kids have opened up all their gifts and there's all these shirt boxes, I keep all the ones and I stack them back in, because I think I need to use them again, or certain, the ribbons and the bows, down to if there's a box you got from Amazon and you're like, there's a part of me that wants to keep that box because it's a really good box.
Yeah.
Or like cards, like birthday cards. I have so many greeting cards that I have never sent that now, and it's an embarrassment, I think, for myself, because I have a confirmation card I never gave to so-and-so, or I had someone turn 16, I bought them a card and then never sent it off, but I still have these cards taking up space. I guess the question there is, do you find that most of your clients they're 50 and over? Find that tends to happen as you age?
My clients tend to fall into kind of 55 to 75 or even 80.
Okay.
So definitely that retired or getting ready to retire. I love working with young moms because there's just so much like to get started right. But it just seems like this is kind of where my niche has fallen, and I do love this. It's funny because, yeah, there are definitely some people that are experiencing what you do. I would say most of the people, by the time they come to me, they have kind of seen through the illusion of the safety, security, and happiness that these things told them that they would provide, and they're ready to let go. Now, they will still hit pockets of things that are hard, and how do I think about this? But they're looking for freedom. Well, one of the things, thinking about your card thing, and not to psychoanalyze you here or anything, but thinking about the today you, the T and stack, one of the things that you can do if you want, you don't have to, is you can say, you know what, I am no longer a card person. I'm going to send texts, I'm going to send emails, I'm going to call up and sing a song, whatever you want to do. But I'm not a find a card, find a stamp, mail it off kind of person. Now, if you do that, that's fantastic, because we don't get much fun mail anymore these days. But if you don't want to be that person, today you doesn't have to do that anymore. So
I like that. Yeah, that is such a good point, because my mom is so good at it. She always has been. And I never have. I'm just not organized in that way. So I like that. Permission to just, today you is saying, yeah, that's just not who I am.
Yeah, today you is not your mom with all the stuff and the cards. And mom is great. Love her, don't change her. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be her to be happy, successful, and doing what you're supposed to do. Because I'll bet you she couldn't do what you do. So
this is true. Oh my gosh, Margaret's giving me the best therapy, you guys. Thank you. So how can listeners follow you? Because I found you on Instagram. Is that the best way to find you?
It's probably a pretty good way to find me. So it's at Unjumbled Home.
So tell me, how do people work with you, Margaret?
Yeah. Well, I have two basic ways I work with people. I work very one-on-one. It's very strategic. It's usually longer projects, that sort of thing. Definitely still doing that. But I'm super excited about my new I say because I started in 2024, group program, because it has a different dynamic that it introduces. So it's Unjumbled Now, and it's a 4-week program. We meet for just 30 minutes each week, and there's a very specific reason for doing that. I am a huge preacher and teacher of doing little bits consistently is way more productive than trying to find a 6 or 8 hour block of time. So when I say little bits, I mean 30 minutes of decluttering and pickup, doing it 3, 4, 5 days a week, never 7. 6 is like super pushing it. So that's why we do the 30 minutes in Unjumbled Now. And it's a small group program. So if just one person signs up for a class, it'll be just me and that person. But typically we have up to 5 people, you plus 4 people. And you're working with people doing decluttering different areas of their home, probably a different state than you're in. And it's just so cool to see these people bonding and sitting, and as I'm addressing somebody else's question or challenge, and they'll either share, hey, I did this and it helped, or like, oh, I had that question too. And then kind of to marry all that together, one of the things we have that I started because I thought, oh, this is a good idea, but it's been an amazing thing, is when you join Unjumbled Now, you get a lifetime membership in our private Facebook group. And the Facebook group is so phenomenal. These gals are so good about supporting each other. It's really like sisters. So there'll be before and after pictures. Somebody will post, and it's not all daisies and, roses springing up. Sometimes people are like, I'm just so tired. I don't want to do anything today. Help me out. So inspiration and just all those things that we all need. So it's an incredible program. So my thing that I hold myself to for Unjumbled Now is accountability, community, and encouragement. So I think those things all have to be part of that program.
Absolutely. Margaret and I are so aligned on this. This is so funny because you would think like, what does a nutrition and fitness coach have to do with, professional organizer? But we both really do align on how we work with our clients because my clients know I am like 30 minutes a day on your workouts. That's all you need. We don't need to be doing these crazy, insane, long workouts. You can do them at home, 30 minutes in and out. And then, like, again, 3 to 5 times a week. I don't want people working out every day. I don't want them overdoing it. I don't want this to take over your life. I want it to be something that is seamless and it just is like a habit, which is, I'm sure, what you work on too, where, Yes, totally sustainable. Because anytime if we try to do something where it just takes over your life, it might last a week or two, but it's not going to be sustainable and in the long term, which is what you want for your clients, which is exactly what I want for my Faster Way clients as well. So I love that. Plus, we also work with them individually and on a small group basis because we know that women really do crave community
so much.
And I think that somebody that is starting out wanting to organize their home, or someone that's starting out wanting to get fit, get healthier, it doesn't cross their mind, oh, I need a community to help me do this, but they join, and that's always the success that they always say. I loved the community. The community was so fabulous.
Yep. And it's so fun because the small classes, they just generate this sisterhood, but then the different classes are feeding into the Facebook groups, so they start knowing each other that way too. And it's just like it's really incredible how it just spreads and helping each other. So it
so
wouldn't
true.
be the same program without it. So
I agree. Oh, I love that so much. Well, everybody definitely go check out Margaret on it's at Unjumbled Home on Instagram, and then unjumbledhome.com. And then you can find all her information on how you can work with her no matter where you live. You don't have to be where Margaret is in person. You can work with her virtually, and she will get you organized and feeling so much better about your space. There's nothing better than waking up. I've always said this in my family, like, I cannot wake up to yesterday's mess. Like, I want to wake up, I don't want to see dirty dishes in the sink. I feel like that just automatically makes you just feel kind of down about the day. You're already, it's not setting the tone at all. So you want to set the tone to just where your home is your sanctuary and you love it. You spend so much time there. So I think it's a no-brainer to reach out to Margaret if you're struggling in this way at all. Thank you so much, Margaret. This has been so informational, so helpful. And thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Jill.
Got pickleball FOMO? Don't you worry, I've got you covered. Whether you are new to the sport or looking to up your game, I'm here to help. Hey, Empty Nesters, as a nutrition and fitness coach who's totally obsessed with pickleball, I've put together a free Pickleball 101 guide just for you. In this guide, you will discover the basics of the game. I'm going to simplify the rules for you. I'm going to give you some nutrition tips to fuel your matches and workout routines that are specifically tailored to pickleball, and some more insider secrets to help you ace on the court. Ready to join the pickleball craze and stay fit while having a blast? Click on the link in today's show notes to grab your free pickleball guide.